So now we'll move on to the single-step statement, and let me move on to that, okay? I have, my notes are in a little different order here. So this would be your single-step income statement, and I'm using the same information as was on the multi-step, so you can compare them one with the other. So a single-step statement really just has the two categories, revenues and expenses. You can see that they belong together, your sales, your dividend revenue, and your rent revenue, just under revenue. And then all of your expenses are listed together regardless of whether they are operational or your other expenses and losses. And you'll notice the income tax expense is there as well. The single step will generally list cost of goods sold first, and it will go in the same order, more or less. You've got your operating expenses and then your other. Income tax expense, in your text, they do this two different ways. Sometimes it will be shown here as an expense. Sometimes it will be computed as it was on the multi-step, where they will come down and do all your expenses and then come down and compute the tax. So they would just do all their expenses, then compute the tax, and then do net income. Obviously, you can do that either way. It's a little more complicated when you're doing it this way, because you have to do all your expenses, compute the tax, and then put the tax in there. Anyway, you'll see that both ways. It can either be reported as the last item here or separately as a computation. Okay, so your single step, it's generally a lot simpler, maybe used by small businesses, but it doesn't provide the analysts. If you're a large corporation, you're probably not going to see this. It doesn't provide the analysts with the useful information they need to determine, okay, so what are the relationships between your, how are you doing operationally? So anyway, single step, very simple format, and just your revenues, expenses, and you still have to report the earnings per share on the face of the statement, even though it is a simple statement. Okay, condensed income statement. This is probably one you have not run into before. And this one, again, we're using the same numbers. This provides all the information really in a similar format to the multi-step, except that it does not list out all of the accounts that are selling expenses and all the accounts that are administrative expenses. And then you notice they start with the net sales. So all of the additional information would be reported in schedules, in the notes to the financial statements. So you would have all the detail there, but it just would not be on the face of the income statement. But you'll notice they do the sales, the cost of goods sold, they go to gross profit, they're selling and administrative. The actual list of what those were composed of would be in the notes to the statement, and they come down to income from operations. Then they do their other, and would probably be notes on, what those were as well. They get to the income before tax, income tax, and net income, and you have to show the earnings per share. So those are your other two formats. You have to be familiar with all three formats to do the homework and probably the exam. Okay.